Have you ever noticed how a single sound, smell, or memory can suddenly take you back to a moment you wish you could forget? Maybe your heart starts racing, your body feels tense, and for a few seconds it feels like you're reliving something painful all over again. For many people, these experiences aren't just occasional memories, they're part of a deeper struggle called post-traumatic stress disorder, often known as PTSD. PTSD is a mental health condition that can develop after someone experiences or witnesses a traumatic event. This could include things like serious accidents, natural disasters, violence, military combat, abuse, or any situation where a person felt intense fear, helplessness, or danger. What makes PTSD difficult is that the event may be over, but the mind and body can continue reacting as if the threat is still present. Many people think trauma only affects someone right after a difficult event, but PTSD can last for months or even years if it isn't understood and addressed. A person might experience flashbacks where memories of the event suddenly feel very real again. They may have nightmares that interrupt their sleep or feel constantly on edge, like something bad could happen at any moment. Everyday situations can start to feel overwhelming because the brain becomes highly sensitive to anything that reminds it of the original trauma. For example, someone who is in a serious car accident might feel intense anxiety when they hear screeching tires or when they sit in the passenger seat of a car. A person who experienced violence might avoid crowded places because their mind automatically searches for danger. Even small things like certain smells, sounds, or locations can act as triggers that bring back memories and emotions connected to the traumatic event. These reactions are not signs of weakness. In fact, they are the brain's way of trying to protect the body. When something traumatic happens, the brain goes into survival mode. It releases stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol to help you react quickly to danger. This response is useful in the moment, but sometimes the brain keeps that alarm system switched on even after the danger has passed. This can affect daily life in many ways. Some people with PTSD feel constantly tense or alert, as if they always need to watch their surroundings. Others feel emotionally numb or disconnected from the people around them. They might lose interest in activities they once enjoyed, struggle to concentrate, or find it hard to trust others. Sleep problems are also very common, which can make stress and exhaustion even worse. One of the reasons PTSD can be confusing is that not everyone responds to trauma in the same way. Two people might experience the same event, yet one develops long-term symptoms while the other gradually recovers. This happens because many different factors influence how the mind processes trauma. One important factor is the environment someone lives in before and after the traumatic experience. People who grow up or live in supportive environments with strong relationships might find it easier to process difficult experiences because they have people they can talk to and rely on. On the other hand, someone who feels isolated or unsupported might struggle more because they carry the emotional burden alone. Surroundings and daily stress also play a big role. If someone is constantly exposed to stressful situations, such as financial pressure, unsafe neighborhoods, or high conflict relationships, the brain may stay in a heightened state of alertness. When trauma is added to an already stressful environment, the nervous system can become overwhelmed, making it harder to return to a calm and balanced state. Lifestyle habits can also influence how strongly PTSD symptoms appear. Sleep deprivation, poor diet, and lack of physical activity can increase anxiety and make the body more sensitive to stress. When the brain doesn't get enough rest or proper nutrition, it becomes harder to regulate emotions and process memories in a healthy way. Social and cultural factors can also shape how people deal with trauma. In some communities, there may be a strong expectation to appear tough or emotionally strong. People might feel pressured to hide their pain instead of talking about it. Phrases like "just move on" or "don't think about it" may come from good intentions, but they can unintentionally make someone feel misunderstood or alone. Another important factor is the nature of the trauma itself. Events that happen suddenly, involve life-threatening danger, or occur repeatedly over time can have a deeper impact on the brain. For example, long-term exposure to violence, abuse, or combat situations can keep the nervous system in a constant state of survival mode. When the brain experiences repeated danger, it becomes more sensitive to anything that feels similar to those past experiences. Technology and modern media can also influence how trauma affects people. Constant exposure to news about violence, disasters, or distressing events can keep the mind focused on danger and uncertainty. For someone already dealing with trauma, this kind of exposure can increase anxiety and make it harder to relax or feel safe. Another reason PTSD symptoms continue is the way the brain stores traumatic memories. Normally, memories are processed and stored in a way that allows us to recall them without feeling overwhelmed. But traumatic memories can be stored differently. They may remain vivid, emotional, and connected to physical sensations, which is why a simple trigger can bring the memory rushing back so strongly. Even though PTSD can feel overwhelming, it's important to know that recovery is possible. Many people learn ways to manage their symptoms and gradually rebuild a sense of safety and control in their lives. One of the most helpful steps is simply understanding what PTSD is and why these reactions happen. When people realize that their symptoms are a natural response to trauma rather than a personal failure, it often reduces a lot of guilt and self-blame. Knowledge can be incredibly empowering because it replaces confusion with understanding. Another powerful step is creating a sense of safety in daily life. This can involve small but meaningful routines that help the nervous system relax. Simple habits like taking slow breaths, stretching, spending time in nature, or listening to calming music can help signal to the body that it is no longer in danger. Building supportive connections with others is also very important. Talking to someone you trust about your experiences can help release emotions that might otherwise stay trapped inside. This could be a close friend, family member, or support group where people share similar experiences. Sometimes just knowing that someone is listening without judgment can make a huge difference. Professional support can also be very effective for people living with PTSD. Therapies designed specifically for trauma can help the brain process difficult memories in a safer way. Mental health professionals often use approaches that help individuals gradually face and understand their memories instead of avoiding them. Over time, this process can reduce the intensity of triggers and emotional reactions. Taking care of the body also supports the healing process. Regular physical activity helps release stress hormones and improve mood. Eating balanced meals and maintaining a consistent sleep schedule can help stabilize the nervous system. When the body is healthier and more rested, the mind becomes better equipped to handle stress. Mindfulness techniques can also be helpful for managing flashbacks or intrusive memories. Practices like grounding exercises encourage focusing on the present moment instead of the past. For example, noticing the feeling of your feet on the floor, the sound of your breathing, or the objects around you can help bring the mind back to the present when memories start to feel overwhelming. It's also important to be patient with yourself during the healing process. Recovery from trauma rarely happens overnight. There may be good days where you feel calm and hopeful, and other days where memories or emotions feel heavier again. This is normal part of healing, not a sign that progress isn't happening. One of the most powerful reminders for anyone dealing with PTSD is that trauma may be part of your story, but it does not define who you are as a person. People are incredibly resilient, and the mind has a remarkable ability to heal when it receives understanding, support, and time. If you or someone you know has experienced trauma and still feels its effects, remember that you're not alone. Millions of people around the world are working through similar challenges, and many of them are finding ways to rebuild their lives with strength and hope. Understanding PTSD helps create a world where people feel safer talking about their struggles instead of hiding them. When we learn about mental health and share these conversations openly, we make it easier for others to reach out for support. If this video helped you understand PTSD a little better, consider sharing your thoughts in the comments. Sometimes hearing someone else's experience can help another person feel less alone. And if you're interested in learning more about mental health, emotional resilience, and ways to care for your mind, make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. Your mental well-being matters, and every step toward understanding is a step toward healing.